Hi, Mcebo here. In this video, we'll be applying the information unit structure concept on a historical content. In this case, we'll be using the account on Wikipedia of President Paul Kagame. So what we will do, we will cover the first section, that is his early life. We'll use the information unit structure concept on the early life of President Paul Kagame. Kagame was born on the 23rd of October 1957, the youngest of 6 children, in Twambe, Rwanda, Urundi, a village. This is a description of the entity, so we'll give it blue. It's his description that relates to his birth, that is when he was born, where he was born. Then we go on. His father, Theocratius, was a member of the Tutsi ethnic group from which the royal family had been. This is information about his father. Theocratius had a family ties to King Tara III, but pursued an independent business career rather than maintain. This is still about his father. Kagame's mother. Okay, this part is his description in relation to his father. Then this part, it's a description of the entity in relation to his mother. She had royal blood. She descended from the last queen, Rosalie Kikanda. So it's his mother. So it's a description of the entity in relation to his mother. We give it blue still because we are describing the entity. At the time of Kagame's birth, Rwanda was a United Nations Trust territory. The long-time colonial power. Okay, this is a description, but in relation to his country. The Tutsi, the Tutsi, the Hutu, and we are introduced to the ethnicities that exist in Rwanda. That's the Hutu, the Tutsi, and the Twa. So it's United Nations had a hand in Rwanda, the Belgians, and then the 3 tribes that live in Rwanda. So it's a description of the entity still, but in relation to his country. So we give it blue. Tension between the Tutsi and the Hutu had been escalating since the 1950s and culminated in the 1959 Rwandan Revolution. Okay, this is a description of the entity in relation to his country still, but in relation to the events that were happening in his country when he was born, when he was still young, when he was still growing up. Family abandoned their home and lived for 2 years in the far. They lived in Rwanda, in the northern part of Rwanda, for 2 years. His family. They gradually moved north. Then now they went to Uganda. After 2 years, they went to Uganda. It was around this time as young boys Kagame and his future comrade Fred met. So this is still his description in relation to the environment in his country when he was born. So let's give it blue. Description of the entity. So basically he grew up in Rwanda and Uganda when he was still a baby and a toddler. Then we move on. Kagame began his primary education in a school near the refugee camp where he and other Rwandan refugees learned English and began. So this is what he did. It's now, because he was now a little boy, so he was able to do his own little decisions and actions. So This is an action. So let's give it yellow. He graduated with the best results in the district. So let's give it green as a result of this action. He subsequently attended Ndare School, one of the best schools in Uganda. It's still an action. The alma of President Yoweri Museveni. So this is where President Yoweri Museveni went. The death of Kagame's father in the early 1970s and the departure of Rwigema to an unknown led to the... Okay, these are actions that occurred. Some of these actions, they led to him declining academically. So let's give it yellow. It's actions, this top part, led to the decline. These are results, because due to these actions, which was the death of his father and the departure of his friend Fred, those two major events, they led to him dropping academically, and also he became violent and was suspended from Ndare, completed studies in Old Kampala. So these are results of these actions. So let's give it green. It's a result of the two events that occurred in his life. After finishing schooling, Kagame made 2 visits to Rwanda in 1977. These are actions. He went to visit his country, Rwanda. On his second visit, he entered the country through Zaire rather than Uganda to avoid suspicion. Still an action. Kagame used his time in Rwanda to explore. This we can, because it's a benefit of these visits, we can put it as a result, because it's a benefit of these 2 visits. So let's put it as a result. Let's give it green. So now we are done reading this piece. The next thing is to make notes, and then after making notes, we'll make notes. So let's go on and make our information unit structured notes. Of course, when we make information unit structure notes, we use the information unit structure, which is like this. We've got the setting, we've got the entity, we've got time, we've got the actions, we've got the results. So from what we read and colored above, you just take it and map it according to color. That's it. That will be your notes. Putting them according to this syntax, according to this structure. That will be your notes. Now we are done taking the notes. So we've got Uganda being the setting where most of the things happened. Kagame being the entity. This is the description of the entity. Description of the entity in blue. And then we move on to the actions and the results. The actions and the results. Still more actions and results. So these are the notes. We take what we have read, we structure it accordingly, and these are notes. Then we also did, we also did our notes, our structured notes, using the notes. We came up with these notes. For instance, this part, 23 October 1957, 6 of 6, Twambe, Urundi. When you just see this, you recall that that's the date when he was born. He was the last of 6 children. He was born in Twambe. Information about his father, information about his mother, information about his country. When you just see these notes, you just have everything coming back to your head easily. When you say young boys and Fred, you recall that these two young boys met, Fred and Kagame. That's when they met, when he was already in Uganda. When you see Tutsi supremacy, you remember that the Belgians, they gave supremacy, which led to the tensions between the tribes, which led to the 1959 Rwandan Revolution, which led to the problems that resulted in the Tutsi running to Uganda. All of that information is brought back to your mind, to your current memory, from the long-term memory by these notes, because you just look at one of them, you just recall everything that is in your head. But without this clear structure, your head will not be able to retrieve the information it has, and it will be like you have forgotten. Yet you haven't forgotten. It's just that you don't have structure. You don't have structure that you use to retrieve this stuff from your mind, and so forth. If you look at, say, primary education, you recall that that's where he started his primary education, near the refugee camp. There was a school. That's when they started integrating to the Ugandan culture. When he was 9, he went to Rwengoro Primary School, got the best grades in the district, and at the age of 9 he went to Ndare, which is one of the best schools in the country. It's where, so these notes, they just bring back everything to your memory easily. Something which the blocks of text fail to do. That's the important part. The blocks of text. If this was a paragraph, everything written, the is, the was, the they, the that, your mind just shuts off. It wants structure. It wants notes, and easily you retrieve information using those notes. So basically, this is the structured notes that we have, from the setting to the entity, and then the actions and the results. And that's it, guys. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.